In 1704, Alexander Selkirk, a hot-tempered man, but a very seasoned sailor, was a crew member on an English privateer ship, which is a nice name for government-sponsored pirates. He had joined Cinque Ports as a privateer in order to escape authorities in Britain. Cinque Ports arrived in the Pacific after a stormy passage around Cape Horn. The ship had been in battle against the French vessel, St. Joseph, and a failed raid on the Panamanian gold mining town of Santa Maria, where they were ambushed. They later captured Asuncion, a heavily loaded merchant ship, but the battles and struggles had left the ship in poor condition. Captain Stradling brought the ship to the island named Mas a Tierra, off the coast of Chile, for a restocking of fresh water and supplies. But, when they reached the island, Selkirk had grave concerns about the seaworthiness of their ship, and expressed his concerns to the captain. He said that it would be madness to continue the voyage without making the necessary repairs. It was leaking badly and its crew was sick and exhausted. However, Captain Stradling was in a hurry and was not convinced by Selkirk's argument, a man he really didn't like. He had a temper, and in his captain's view, uttered his opinions way too often and publicly. Upset by the captain's refusal, Selkirk now declared that he would rather stay on Juan Fernandez Island than continue in a dangerously leaky ship. Selkirk did this, thinking that the other crew members would follow him, and refused to sail any further. But the other crew members on the ship answered his calling with silence. Captain Stradling quickly accepted Selkirk's request and landed him on the island with a musket, a hatchet, a knife, a cooking pot, a Bible, bedding and some clothes. Realizing what he just had done, Selkirk immediately regretted his hot-headed decision, and begged the captain to let him back on board, but a smiling captain refused. While they were rowing away, Selkirk watched his captain wave him goodbye. Alexander Selkirk was now alone and marooned on a deserted island. Unfortunately for the ship and its crew, Selkirk's prediction came true, and Cinque Ports later sank off the coast of what is now Colombia. This is the remarkable story about the real-life Robinson Crusoe, Alexander Selkirk. Selkirk settled along the shoreline and lived off lobsters in the beginning. He suffered from loneliness, misery and remorse of what had happened. In other words, he was very depressed. But when hordes of sea lions gathered on the beach for the mating season, he was forced to move to the island's interior, something that would prove to be a positive thing for Selkirk. Because once inland, much more food were available. Feral goats, introduced by earlier sailors, provided him with meat and milk, while wild turnips and dried Skinus fruits offered him variety and spices. But a new enemy had also appeared, namely rats. The rats would attack him at night, until he started living near some cats that had been left on the island. He was now able to sleep in peace at night, protected by the cats. Alexander Selkirk proved both resourceful and able, and used materials he found on the island. Childhood lessons learned from his father, a tanner, now served him well. He forged a new knife out of barrel hoops left on the beach, and built 2 huts out of pepper trees, one of which he used for cooking and the other for sleeping. He hunted goats with his musket and used his homemade knife to clean the carcasses. However, when his gunpowder started to dwindle, he had to chase the prey on foot. During one of these chases, he was badly injured when he tumbled from a cliff, but was probably spared a broken back, when his prey had cushioned his fall. He was now lying helpless and was unable to move for a day, but was able to recover without serious injuries. When his clothes wore out, he made new ones from hair-covered goatskins, using a nail for sewing. He tried to battle his loneliness. He sang psalms and read the Bible, finding it a sort of comfort in his desperate situation. During his time on the island, 2 vessels stopped and anchored. Unfortunately for Selkirk, both were Spanish, and as a British privateer, he would have faced a grim fate if captured. He therefore had no option but to try to hide. one of the ship's men spotted him and chased him, and Selkirk climbed up a tree in desperation. His pursuers looked everywhere for him, and one even urinated beneath the tree he was hiding in, but the Spanish were unable to find him. His would-be captors gave up and sailed away. On February 2, 1709, after 4 years and 4 months without human company, an English privateering ship landed on the island, and met Selkirk. The captain, Woodes Rogers, said that Selkirk was so joyous that he had trouble speaking coherently. The ship's crew was in poor health, and Alexander Selkirk helped them by catching 3 goats a day, and in this way, helped restore the health of Rogers' men, who had developed scurvy. Captain Rogers was so impressed by Selkirk's physical vigor, but also by the peace of mind that he had attained while living on the island, observing,
"Wild-looking and wearing goat skins, he had with him his clothes and bedding, a gun, some powder, and only a few other things. It's remarkable how he has survived so long, marooned on an island."
And concluded that,
"One may see that solitude and retirement from the world is not such an insufferable state of life as most men imagine, especially when people are fairly called or thrown into it unavoidably, as this man was."
The captain now enthusiastically referred to Selkirk as the governor of the island. He now made Selkirk second mate, and later appointed him commander of one of their prize ships, Increase. Selkirk's experience as a castaway aroused a great deal of attention in England, and several articles were written about his ordeal. Selkirk's new status as a celebrity was something he appeared to enjoy. However, after he was charged with assaulting a shipwright in Bristol, he fled justice once again, and served as an officer on board HMS Weymouth in 1720, engaged in an anti-piracy patrol off the west coast of Africa. He had now started hunting what he once had been himself, a pirate. As the ship sailed down the coast of West Africa, the crew began to contract yellow fever from the swarms of mosquitoes that followed them. Selkirk became sick with the disease in early December. He died on December 13, 1721, along with shipmate William King. Both were buried at sea. The Life and Surprising Adventures of Robinson Crusoe, written by Daniel Defoe, was published in 1719, 10 years after Selkirk was rescued from the island. On the first page of the book, there is a picture of a melancholy-looking man, standing on the shore of an island, gazing inland, and few readers would have missed the resemblance to Selkirk. However, Selkirk was not the only person to have experienced being alone on a deserted island. There had been several other stories, depicting similar circumstances. Most literary scholars now think that Selkirk's story was just one of many survival narratives that Daniel Defoe knew about when he wrote his classic novel. And who could blame him? The story of Alexander Selkirk is definitely a great and compelling story.
I hope you found this presentation interesting.
That was great.
And if you did, please smash the like and subscribe buttons as if you were a Viking berserker. I cover a lot of historical topics here on my channel. So check out my other videos to see if there are others you find interesting. And I hope to see you in the next one.